I'm Matt Powell. I'm 26 years old and I live in Manhattan. And I am a food photographer on the side as well as a design editor. And the reason that I think that that's really necessary for you to know is because my passion for food is very integral to my coming out story. And the reason for that is, for a lot of people, I think that whenever they come out, there are very distinct details that they remember about the story. Whether it's the setting of the place, who they told, what they were wearing. But for me, each step of my coming out is very distinctly tied to a food memory as well. And for me, it was very essential that when I did make the decision to come out, that I was in a very secure place, but also in a financially independent place. I was from a very traditional family in San Diego, and I was extremely afraid that when I came out to my family that I'd be completely cut off. So I couldn't come out during college. My parents were paying for a lot of my education, and I couldn't come out immediately after either because they were helping me out with housing. So it wasn't until I made it almost an entire year after graduation from college, I was 22, that I finally was in a very secure place. And I also wanted to have this emotional foundation as well. I wanted to have a person that I was coming out for. I wanted to have that person that I could fall back on in case something happened. And so that crux of everything happened in March of 2013, and it was St. Patrick's Day. I remember exactly what we were serving. I was making corned beef and cabbage, of course, but on top of that, I was making this awesome Guinness Stout float. And my friend, who was my roommate at the time, had invited all these guys, beautiful guys from the New York City Ballet. And as the night progressed and we were getting more tipsy and I was definitely getting drunk, I remember drinking one of these floats from a teacup, and I looked up across the way from me, and there was this beautiful boy like staring back at me, and it was this stare that I kind of knew, and I knew that it was more than, hey, let's be friends. And that moment progressed to him finding me on Facebook, and then messaging me, and then exchanging numbers, and then that led to sexting, and then that led to other things. And I was so hesitant in this new territory because not only was it new, but it was also not out in the open that I was gay. So for me, I needed to tell my friends. And it was early April or so, and I had this big dinner, and I chose the drink of the night. It was called the Gentleman, and I mixed this concoction of brown sugar, Angostura bitters, Saint Germain, rum, and champagne. It was a very strong drink, and it was very apropos to me. I felt like it was my personality in a glass. And right before I came out to my best girlfriend, I felt like it was appropriate to tell her first, and she was kind of indicative of how the rest of my friends acted. She turns to me and goes, "Oh, I know. We've had a bet going for years that it was either going to be you or Michael that came out first." And apparently they always thought it was going to be Michael first, but I beat him to the punch by a long shot. And so I was kind of emboldened by that moment. I was like, oh, well, if she knows, maybe everybody else knows. And so I go back in, literally she's trailing me, and I called together the toast to kick off the evening. And I was standing in front of the TV, I was very proud, I raised my glass, and I was like, so you might have guessed that there's an announcement of sorts tonight, and I just want to tell you all that I'm gay. And I just threw it out there. And there was no gasp of astonishment, there was no surprise in the room. They all just kind of looked at me and they say, we know. It wasn't a big deal. And I was a little disappointed. I wanted some drama, but it was almost a relief. I immediately had 25 people who were on my side, and they were just so excited that I was ready to be at this point in my life. And there was not even that many questions. They just kind of were like, this is part of Matt's personality, and we've always known. And so now I had my New York family on board, and I was so happy to have them, and you know, there's the initial excitement of experiencing that world and having your friends be part of it and like know a fuller sense of yourself. But then I had to tell my family. That was the real struggle, especially my dad. My dad is from Texas, and he's always been a very big man's man. He's also been a big gay basher for a long time. And so I was really afraid of telling him especially. And so the next time I was going to go home was Memorial Day weekend, and I felt it was really important to tell him in person. And so I went home, and it was for my niece's wedding. So I was going to be doing the rehearsal dinner on Friday evening. The wedding was going to be on Saturday. Sunday there would be like a bit of downtime, and then I was leaving on Monday morning. So the plan was I'd get through the entire weekend and then tell them at brunch on Monday and then jet for the airport and just like leave everything behind and just like leave them in astonishment in case anything should happen. And the thing is, like, it just did not go according to plan at all. The rehearsal dinner was obviously a mixture of my family, a traditional Mexican family, and the groom's family for my niece, who are all very traditional as well, and they're from Hawaii. And I was doing a 6-course meal, very extravagant, and I was plating everything, and I was in my element. And when it came to dessert, I just decided that enough was enough. I couldn't plate another thing. I couldn't take the time to prepare it, so I decided to make it to order. And I was doing a bananas flambe, which is brown sugar mixed with butter, sauteed for a little while, like caramelize the sugars, and then you add in bananas, saute those a little bit longer, and then you add in alcohol and light it a flame and serve it over ice cream after it reduces a little bit. And so I put out like a little like portable stove in front of the entire family, and I was walking them through it as if I was a Food Network personality. So I was like, yeah, you take a slab of butter, you add it in, you like let it like melt down, brown a little bit, add in some sugar, and I'm like just like walking through the entire thing. And after making 5 or 6 of these for, remember there's like 25 people, I was getting exhausted, and I'm running out of words to say. And I will never forget, at one point I add in the alcohol to the bananas, and I say, now when you add in the alcohol, make sure that you flip it less violently because you don't want any flaming fruit flying at your face. And as soon as I said that, I just started cracking up because the term flaming fruit was so indicative of what I was. It was like 2 gay slangs smushed together. I was a flamer, I was a fruit, I was a flaming fruit. And I started cracking up, and my entire family looked at me like I was crazy because they weren't in on the joke. And so I had to like let them know why I was laughing, and I just said it so plainly. I just go, I'm gay. And nobody seemed like too shocked. It was like my aunts who were all like, oh, we've known since you were like 8. My mom burst into tears, but not particularly because she was mad or anything or sad. My dad was actually sad, to come to think of it. He said something that was really profound in the moment. He goes, it was because of me that it took you so long to come out. And he was really sad. And there were some tears, but I was more happy that he was reacting so well to it. And then the most wonderful thing that I found out about this, my sister and I got really close that evening because I found out that my kid sister, who's 5 years younger than me, went through all of elementary school defending me because I started to seem very gay by the time I was like 9 or 10. And my peers would often make fun of me behind my back, but she would go up to them and be like, this little 4-year-old be like, do you want to try that again? That's my brother. And she's like, she knew that it was my place to decide when I wanted to come out. And even my mom, she used to say, like, should we pressure him to come out? Should we tell him that it's okay? And my sister would be like, no, like she was wise beyond her years, and she would be like, no, I think that's one of those things that you have to decide on your own. And I just couldn't believe that she was so caring of me in that moment, especially from such a young age. And so I didn't end up jetting off to the airport. Nobody had the gasp of astonishment. Nobody had like any sort of surprise. It was very like in my element. I was embracing this part of my personality, and I was doing it while I was cooking, which is my favorite thing in the world. So it was a combination of two very essential parts of my being. That's it.